right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's Fireside Chat. That video always gets me fired up because the beginning has quotes from real customers or from a real customer who was pressured into migrating from Dynamics GP to Business Central or BC. They spent more than $100,000 and 12 months implementing BC, only to spend 7 weeks in hell after going live. Njevity actually helped them move back to GP in PowerGP Online, and not only have they never been happier, but they have no plans or intentions to leave GP. So I actually put this case study about this customer's journey back to GP in the handout section. So go download it, give it a read, share it with your team, share it with your friends, because really at the end of the day, that's why we are having this conversation today. And not only that, that case study reminds us, and me in particular, that Njevity is about so much more than software, more than about ERP. It's about people and businesses and the commitment that we have to them and the community that has been built around such a great product in Dynamics GP. Quickly, my name is Mike McPhillamy. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing here at Njevity. We are the creators of PowerGP Online and founding members of the Knights of GP. I'm also excited to be joined by two people who live and breathe Dynamics GP as well, our President and CEO, Chris Dobkins, and our Customer Support Manager, Paige All-Star Horn. So if you guys want to give a quick wave real fast, I'll let you introduce yourselves here more in a minute. But it was so great to meet so many of you at Summit. We really enjoyed the great conversations. For those who didn't make Summit this year, not only was it a great time of learning and networking as always, but this is really where we kind of rolled out this Knights of GP concept and set the foundation. So, I know many of you have questions about your future on Dynamics GP, but also want to know more about how the Knights of GP can help you extend the life of GP beyond 2031. So I think we should just jump right in and let's take a look at the agenda for today's Fireside Chat.
Right on, Mike.
All right, can you advance? There you go, there's the agenda slide. All right, so what are we talking about today? We're gonna start with Chris kind of laying the foundation of the Knights of GP and kind of providing that roadmap and what's to be expected and gonna be happening over the next few years. We're gonna transition into some messaging mythbusters. We know that there's a lot of conversations, a lot of myths that are out there, and we're just gonna help debunk those. We're also gonna just point out some red flags to be aware of that are kind of out in the community. Again, just making sure that you're getting the absolute best so you can continue running your business on Dynamics GP. We'll transition and pull Paige into the conversation and really speak to Njevity's commitment to Dynamics GP as the GP ride or die partner. And then again, don't forget, we are giving away a Solo Stove Bonfire Smokeless Fire Pit. The winner will be announced at the end. You do have to be present to win, so make sure that you don't bail early. All right, so Chris, you often tell a story that really connects to the why of the Knights of GP. So first, can you just give a quick introduction about yourself and how long you've been in the community, but then share that story as you lead into the formation and foundation of the Knights of GP?
Yeah, you bet, Mike. Hey, can you guys hear me okay?
I can hear just
That's
fine.
a nodding yes. Awesome, right on. Well, it's nice to see everybody. Welcome to our Fireside Chat today. My name is Chris Dobkins, and it's hard to believe, but I have been in the GP community well over 30 years now, and I've had an opportunity to do some really cool things with Dynamics GP. But right now, what I'm most excited about is what we're doing with the Knights of GP. And as a founding member of the Knights of GP, I'm just really excited about how the Knights of GP is going to be able to help our Dynamics GP customers who want to stay on GP for as long as you want to. So that's really what we're here to talk about today. And as Mike was alluding, I do have a little story I wanted to tell before we get to the Knights of GP. So if you'll indulge me for just a minute, want to tell the story, and it starts like this. It started when I was walking out of my high school graduation, dressed completely inappropriately under my gown, of course, for a prank that my buddies and I chickened out of at the last minute when I ran into my dad. And he gives me a great big hug, and he has a big smile on his face. Not the, my son just graduated from high school smile, but the my 18-year-old son is about to move out of my house smile. Some of you probably know what that smile feels like. And he asks me, he says, now that you've accomplished your goal of graduating from high school, what's next? And I was thinking about that. I was thinking, well, college, of course. That's what you do. You go to college. Moving out. I mean, I was excited about moving out as my dad was about me moving out. But what was really on my mind that day, like so many days before, was this idea that living a full life meant having a passport that was worn with curiosity. You see, I'd just gotten back from a trip to London for my 18th birthday to visit the place where I was born. And I came back with a travel bug. And ever since, I've been trying to visit as many different countries as I can. And 47 countries later, I've learned something really pretty simple, and that is that people all over the world are more alike than we are different. We all want the same things. We want a better life for our kids. And our kids, well, through the power of play, they connect with everyone. And they all play the same way. You watch a group of kids kicking a soccer ball around, and I mean, that scene could be taking place literally anywhere in the world. Now, I have another goal when it comes to travel, and that is that I want to visit every Disney theme park in the world. Now, you might think that's an odd goal for a grown adult man, but you got to understand that my mom was at Disneyland on opening day in 1955, 70 years ago. And as a result, Disney has been this thread that has run through now 5 generations of my family. I went to Disneyland as a kid. I took my kids to Disneyland. I've even now taken my grandson to Disneyland. And I've even discovered how much fun Disney is without kids. And you see, what I love about Disney is the way that it helps me suspend my disbelief, to exist in a state of childlike sense of wonder, and to believe that this really could be the happiest place on earth. And as a business leader, I'm intrigued by how Disney pushes their culture across hundreds of thousands of cast members all over the world, and how they're so intentional about how they want their guests to feel about the experiences they have in the parks. So, a couple of years ago, I had a chance to go to Singapore for a conference. And I thought, well, Hong Kong's kind of on the way to Singapore, and Hong Kong has a Disneyland, and I've never been to Hong Kong. So, two pumas with one stone, right? I get to check another country off my list and get to check another Disneyland off my list. So, I start planning this whole trip. I've got the trip planned around spending 2 full days at Hong Kong Disney. I've got us booked into the Disneyland Hotel for 3 nights. I've pre-purchased our 2-day park tickets, and I've spent days researching the best snaps, the can't miss rides, the brand new one of its kind Frozen Land where we could go meet Elsa, the restaurants we just have to try, and of course, the best place to sit for the fireworks. And after all that planning and anticipation, we were finally ready to go. So the day arrives, we land in Hong Kong after a 14-hour flight. And then around 2:30 in the afternoon, we roll up to the Disneyland Hotel to check in. The front desk agent notices that we have a 2-day ticket as he's getting us processed into our room. And he asks me if we'd like to use the first day today. And I was like, no, I don't, of course not. It's already 3 o'clock. That would be silly. The park's only open for another 4 hours. No. We'll start fresh tomorrow. Well, tomorrow and the next day, those will be our full days. And that's when he looks at me and I can tell something is off. And he says, sir, I'm really sorry, but the park is closed tomorrow. Closed? Tomorrow? Why? Why in the world would the park be closed? I say. And he says, well, look, every so often on Wednesdays, we close the park for cleaning. And that was really when I had my Clark Griswold meltdown. I mean, if they had had a moose out front, I probably would have punched it in the face. And I'm like, what do you mean you're closed? Don't you realize we came all this way? Well, we had plans. You can't just close the park on us. I put all this time into planning and researching so we'd have the perfect park experience. I felt betrayed by the company that I had loved and invested in for so long. I came all this way. I put in all this time and energy, and they didn't consider my plans, my goals, my timeline, or anything else that was going on in my life at the time. They didn't consider the impact this was going to have on our trip or what trade offs I would have to consider. They just closed for cleaning. Now, they offered me some other options for what I could do with my day, but none of it was really satisfying, and none of it would leave me better off than my original plan. And that's kind of how I feel about Microsoft and Dynamics GP. I mean, I loved them. I trusted them. I built my business around their promise. And then one day, they just closed the park. They didn't consider my needs, my plans, the time and energy that we'd put into implementing GP, and the half dozen or so ISVs that we use every day, building countless reports to help us run the business, integrating our CRM and contract management and billing systems. I mean, our GP is the circulatory system of our business. We can't just replace that without significant impact. And sure, they're giving us other options, but none of them leave me better off than where I am now. And all of them require me to spend time and money and leadership capital that, frankly, I would rather spend on things that make our customers' lives better, things that are actually connected to our mission. I remember a time when Great Plains mission used to sound a lot like this, but I don't think Microsoft was thinking about improving our life or success as they've been making the decisions they've been making over the past several years. We've come a long way, and it just feels like there's so much daylight now between what we stand for and what Microsoft stands for. But let's go back to Hong Kong Disney for just a minute. You know, after I went all Clark Griswold on the front desk person, and after my wife calmed me down, this guy looks at me with all the compassion in the world, and he says to me, he says, "Look, I can't do anything about the park closing tomorrow, but I can help you make the most out of the time you have today." He gave us a book of fast passes that we could use on all the rides. He got us front row VIP seats at the fireworks show. He even put us in a car and had us driven right to the front gates so we would not have to wait for a bus. And because of what he did for us, we had more time to have the experience that we planned. We had more time for the magic. And when I think back on that trip, I don't think about the park being closed. I think about the front desk agent who went out of his way to make sure that these two weary travelers were able to have our experience on our terms, in spite of what the park was planning to do. And that is the role that I'd love to see the Knights of GP play for every single Dynamics GP customer who feels like the gates were closed on them. We can give you more time. We can give you agency to control your own destiny so that you can do the things that your business and your customers need most, not just the things that Microsoft says you need to do. So you already saw this in the video. You've seen this roadmap before. Microsoft has provided us where they show that they're going to be providing support and enhancements through 2029 and security updates through 2031. What I'm telling you is the Knights of GP are going to pick up where Microsoft leaves off, and we're going to provide support to all of our customers. We're going to provide new features to all of our customers, and we're going to provide payroll tax updates to people who want to run payroll. So this is what the Knights of GP are all about. We're going to do this till 2035 and beyond. When Terry Healy was up on stage at Summit just a few weeks ago, she committed to us that in the last version of GP that Microsoft releases in 2028, that she's going to make sure that Dynamics GP is compatible with Windows 2028 and SQL 2028. And both of those products, when they release, are going to have a 10-year support lifecycle. So we know that the operating systems and databases that GP runs on will be supported well through 2038. And we also know from past experience that it's very rare when a new version of Windows or SQL comes out that GP has a problem with it. So we believe that GP is going to work just fine, well beyond even 2038. We'd like the Knights of GP to be there with you as you continue your Dynamics GP journey. So who are the Knights of GP? Well, the Knights of GP we're designing it as a co-op, a cooperative, like REI is, for example, where as customers you can join as members. We're going to be inviting customers and ISVs and Dynamics GP consultants to join this co-op and become members of the co-op. As members, you'll have agency over timelines, how long we support Dynamics GP, what features we add. All of our members will have some say in how that works. And as a nonprofit, if there's money left over at the end of the year, some of that money goes back to the members. We'll use that money. We'll charge a monthly fee that should be smaller than what you pay in your annual maintenance. And with that monthly fee, we're going to hire developers. We'll probably use the developers that work for some of our ISV members to help us continue to add new features to your Dynamics GP. Whether you're on-premise or in the cloud, you're going to get new features after Microsoft stops providing them. And the Knights of GP are going to provide that. If you happen to run payroll, I was just talking to a customer the other day. They don't use GP for GL, AP, or AR, but they use GP for payroll. That's all they use it for. It's a great payroll system. And they're really excited about the prospect of continuing to receive those payroll tax updates and frankly, changes to the functionality that may have to happen as rules and regulations around payroll change in our country. So we're going to be doing that as well. The Knights of GP is also going to be providing training. We've already started a library of online training, and we're going to continue to expand that. And we're building a library of all the information about GP that's out on the internet, out on Microsoft sites. So if Microsoft starts removing some of that information, we'll already have copies of it. It'll all be stored in our Knights of GP website, where our members will be able to access it. So that's a little bit about the Knights of GP. I think Mike, we're gonna have a chance to do some Q&A a little bit later, or we'll have a conversation about it. But for now, I think it's time to turn it over to our all-star.
Not quite yet.
Horn.
Jumping the gun a little bit on me.
Oh, you still have stuff for
Actually,
me? Okay.
I still got, yeah, no, we're gonna unpack this a little bit, Chris. And then here towards the end, we'll let, actually, Paige, you can jump in at any time. Let's be honest. I mean, you're an all-star. So as we're having a conversation,
we should play that song. We should play that song when Paige enters the room.
Should. I mean, we really should. All right. So yeah, I do want to transition into more of a Q&A, and Chris was really designed just to be with you, but Paige, you're absolutely more than welcome to jump in here. But Chris, first off, thank you for sharing that story. It's really a great reminder of what makes this community so special, and why there's so much excitement around the Knights of GP. So I want to transition and play a little Mythbusters and kind of talk about and help debunk some of the messaging that customers are hearing out there, because really at the end of the day, it's I don't know, it's there's just a lot of uncertainty. I guess I'll just say it that way. So let's start cutting through the noise and let's talk about that messaging, play some Mythbusters here. So first off, we'll start with myth number one. Support is ending soon. So we've talked with a lot of customers and they're telling us their partner is saying that GP support is ending soon. What does that mean? Even as early as next year. We've heard end of life and end of support rumors of 2026, 2028, 2029, 2031. And Microsoft really hasn't done anything to help with this confusion. So if you can make me the presenter again, I'm going to share the Dynamics GP roadmap while you and Paige talk to kind of what's going on here.
All right. You're asking a lot of me here, Mike, to figure out how to change the presenter.
I think I got it. We're good. Hopefully everyone can see my screen with the GP roadmap.
I mean, I can see it.
You're all that matters, Chris. All right. All right. So yeah, what do you have to say to the myth that support is ending soon? Can you set some clarity here?
Well, I mean, I think it's funny. I think like what does soon mean? I mean, we still have like 4 or 5 years of mainstream support left for Microsoft. I mean, that's a long time. And but honestly, I mean, I wish I could see everyone who's watching this right now, because what I'd love to do is ask you to raise your hands if you're getting support from Microsoft today. We did this at one of the sessions at Summit, and like nobody raised their hand. And so the question that I asked the room, and I'll ask it to you right now, is, would you even notice if Microsoft stopped supporting GP? I know we wouldn't. We provide all this, the GP support to our customers. I haven't met somebody who's tried to call Microsoft for support in a while. When you do call Microsoft for support, it's not great, anyways. So I don't know. I don't know how big of a deal it is that Microsoft stops supporting anything, but we know from the roadmap that the commitment right now from Microsoft is that they're going to support Dynamics GP through the end of 2028, and then I'm sorry, I think I don't actually see your roadmap on top of it. Through the end of 2029, they're supporting GP, and then they'll have security updates through 2031. So we've got, I can't do math, Mike. What's that? 4 years of mainstream support left.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's the date. That's when the support ends. You use the word, when you ask me the question that I really don't like, you use the word end of life. I think it's really important. I mean, a lot of people are throwing that word around, and it's really important that we all just remember that the GP is not going to stop working when Microsoft stops supporting it. When Microsoft stops supporting it, your GP will continue to work, and you can continue to work with your partner to support it. When something breaks, your partner can fix it. When you need a new report, your partner can help you build it. When you need new integration, you can work with your partner to connect the stuff you need to connect. So all that's going to continue to function well after 2031, when Microsoft officially gets out of the game. And Mike, also, I would suggest that this is the timeline that we have now, but I think a lot of us feel like as we get closer to 2028, 2029, that we're probably going to see Microsoft push these dates and extend them. If there are still 30,000, 20,000 customers running on Dynamics GP, you can bet Microsoft is going to extend these dates, because they still want everybody's maintenance money. So this is what the commitment is now. I'm expecting these dates to push out even further into the future as we get closer to them.
Yeah, those are great points. And you kind of helped transition into myth number 2. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but myth number 2, Microsoft has abandoned GP. So a lot of customers have heard that Microsoft has essentially completely walked away from GP, and they aren't developing for GP anymore, which, honestly, that does sound scary. But, I'm going to ask the question in this way: can you unpack what's actually true about Microsoft's commitment, which you kind of already did, but also talk to the ISVs and the commitment that the ISVs have and the role that they play in this ecosystem, ones like Cavallo, SalesPad, Winsoft, and Rockton. So yeah, I'll turn it over to you on that one.
I mean, yeah, it's a really great point. And first of all, Microsoft has not abandoned GP. I mean, I know what it feels like to show up and the park is closed. And, the park isn't quite closed yet here with Dynamics GP. I mean, Microsoft is still adding features. I mean, we saw Terry Keeley do a presentation just a few days ago of, several dozen new features that are coming out in the next version of Dynamics GP. So they are continuing to add new things to the product, primarily based on what customers have asked for, what they've requested. They're not doing big stuff, but there's definitely still working on the product. They definitely have not abandoned it up to this point. And you make a great point bringing up our ISV friends. While Microsoft may not be doing big stuff around Dynamics GP, there's ISVs in our community that are doing some really cool stuff. We're still doing some really cool stuff, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But if you can spell, it's spelled with a capital A and a capital I. And there's a lot of cool stuff that's coming for Dynamics GP. It's just coming from our ISV ecosystem, and there's a lot of ISVs out there like Njevity, like those you mentioned, Mike, that still really believe in GP and can plan to continue to enhance and support their products for a long time. I mean, I know Cavallo is planning to support their Dynamics GP customers for years and years and years. I know Winsoft is doing the same. I know Rockton is doing the same. So, when we've got a laundry list of ISVs that are committed to continuing to support their Dynamics GP customers and to continue to enhance their own products.
Exactly, and I think that's the most important thing to remember is that it's really built around this community that has made GP great. All right, so let's talk about
totally.
myth number 3, and this one's kind of a biggie. So the resource shortage scare. We've heard from customers, and this is actually true of Neustar sourcing, but they were told that as they got closer to 2031, there wouldn't be enough consultants or migration resources. Is that a real concern?
Well, first I'm gonna challenge you on the word migration. I don't think that what's happening here with GP to BC is really a migration. It's really an ERP transition. It's a whole new ERP implementation project. But you're probably going to ask me something about that later. So I'll get back to your topic. This is really just a scare tactic. I mean, we've heard customers come with this concern. I mean, look, your GP is not going to stop working in 2031 or in 2029. So, if you're still on GP in 2034, you're going to be fine. You're going to have organizations like the Knights of GP, like Njevity, like Cavallo that are out here continuing to support you. So, you don't need to worry about some traffic jam happening in 2029 that's going to prevent you from getting onto supported software, because the software is going to be supported. And frankly, the more customers that are still on Dynamics GP when we get to 2031, the more likely it is that Microsoft is going to push these dates. So I think this is just a complete non-issue. I don't think it's something. Look, the thing that motivates you to change your ERP system should not be potential availability of resources down the road. The things that you should be thinking about when you're considering changing your ERP system are things like, does it meet my business's needs? Does it work for my business? Are there things that I need to be able to do that the system can't do? What are you going to get at the end of this project to make going through an ERP transition a chaotic ERP transition, because they all are? What are you going to get at the end of that that's going to make all of that worth it? And if it's just the hope that you're going to have available resources, I mean, I hope there's more to it. I mean, personally, if we were ever going to move off of GP, which we have no plans to do, I really want to get something big out of it at the end of the day, not just be on something else.
Exactly. Well, you kind of already talked to this a little bit, but myth number 4, GP will stop working when Microsoft stops supporting it. Customers are hearing the messages that, exactly that, GP will stop working after 2031. Kind of already debunked that is not the truth. And if customers don't transition before that 2031 date, GP is not going to stop working. But what I would love to have you talk about is around the GP licensing, specifically, perpetual licensing, staying current on enhancement up to that point, talk about subscription. Anything else you want to add there as well?
Yeah. I think, I guess I can say it again. GP will not stop working when Microsoft stops supporting it. And we don't believe that's going to be in 2029 or 2031. We think it's going to be further off into the future. But even when it does happen, the Knights of GP are going to be there to pick up the ball and carry it across the goal line. We're going to be there to help make sure that you have the support that you need. Now, what we are encouraging our customers to do is to continue to pay your annual maintenance. just keep paying your annual maintenance until Microsoft rolls out their last version, because you want to be on the most current version of GP when they stop releasing new versions, right? That's going to be the version that is supported on Windows 2028 and SQL 2028. So you definitely want to have the right to that software. So keep paying your annual maintenance. Make sure you're on the most current version, and I think that's just what you need to do. And if you happen to be on subscription, you know what, you're entitled to the latest version. So nothing special you have to do there.
Awesome. All right, let's talk some cool fun stuff. Myth number
Ooh,
5.
cool, fun stuff.
Don't give too much away yet, Chris. But myth number 5 is
Okay.
GP can't modernize or use AI. So another myth that customers are hearing is that they can't use AI. They have to move to Business Central or another system to take advantage of those modern innovations. So how do you respond to that? What is the truth about modern tools, integrations, AI capabilities that are available to GP customers today and will be available to them?
Well, I mean, Paige and I did a whole session at Summit just a few weeks ago about using AI with Dynamics GP. And Paige did some really cool demos. What were some of the ways that you showed customers how they could use AI with Dynamics GP, Paige?
I did some Excel reports, and so I used the native GP Excel reports and refreshed those and used Copilot within that. I think I uploaded some stuff, some smart lists, and allowed GPT to be kind of my auditor and my CFO coach to kind of prepare me for a presentation. So all kinds of stuff just with GP.
Yeah, it was a really cool presentation, and as I was working with Paige to prepare for that session like several months ago, it just inspired me, and I use ChatGPT. I've been loading our financial statements into it and asking it to be our CFO, saying hey, as an expert CFO, Mr. ChatGPT, what can you tell me about our financials? And I know how to. I've been doing accounting work for a long time, so I do know how to read financials, and I can tell that what ChatGPT is telling me is the right things. So there's a lot that we can do in GP today without any changes, and be able to leverage it into this new AI world. We're also seeing ISVs coming to the table and bringing AI into GP in some fun and interesting ways. And I know, for example, what we're working on with PowerGP Online is that having to bring AI into things like payment processing systems. Having AI help make payments and help you tell you what payments you should make, or to help with bank transaction matching in our PowerGP banking reconciliation product. So I mean, we're looking at bringing AI into our products like that. And I know a lot of ISVs out there, like ClickTag, for example, is building AI into their systems. And I sit through a lot of presentations from other ISVs, and I know a lot of them are using AI to help make their products better and provide more value to their customers. Trying really hard, Mike, to save the big reveal for later.
Okay, so you're saying I should move on quickly. Got it. All right, let's talk about myth number 6. This one has to do with security, but the myth here is that GP isn't secure because it's not in the cloud. So, we're very familiar with this messaging. How do you respond to that, especially with everything that we know about, PowerGP Online security?
I mean, I don't totally understand the myth, but I mean, GP is if you're on-prem, I mean, GP is just as secure as your whole network is. If you're doing the things that you need to do in your home network at your office to keep your environment secure, I mean, GP is secure. I hear a lot of this too, Mike, around well, what happens when Microsoft stops releasing security patches for GP. And that kind of goes to the security of GP. There's very few parts of GP that are actually on the internet, right? Like most of us, our GP system is just sitting on a SQL server inside our firewall, where the bad guys can't get to it unless they get through our firewall. And if they get through our firewall, they can get to everything, right? Not just GP. The only parts of GP that might like sit on the edge of your firewall on the internet would be things like GP Web Client or GP Web Services. And we know that many GP customers aren't using those technologies. So if you're just running GP without the web client, without the Microsoft Web Services, there's really not any surface area of your GP system that's exposed to the internet. So it's GP isn't making your network less secure, and your network's not making GP less secure. There's nothing that from a security standpoint that is going to be impacted because you're running on GP or your GP isn't in somebody else's cloud. And just because it's in the cloud doesn't make it more secure. I mean, Microsoft had some pretty significant intra ID outages, and Teams has been having some outages lately. So even the stuff in the cloud, is it has to be kept secure, and none of that has really anything to do with GP. And as a cloud provider ourselves, I know we spend a lot of time and a lot of money making sure that our systems are secure, our walls are tall, our moats are wide, and that it's making make our GP environment the most secure place for Dynamics GP customers. But we have a lot of on-prem customers that have put a lot of effort into making their GP environment secure as well, Mike.
Yeah, I agree. All right, this myth number 7, I think you'll like this one because you've kind of already alluded to this, but BC is just an upgrade to GP. Yep, we've seen partners call Business Central an upgrade, quotes, from GP, and use the word, quotes, migration. Why is this messaging so misleading?
Well, all right. So I actually like went back and put on my historian hat for a minute a few weeks ago, Mike, and found out. I remember when I first started doing this, I was version 2 of Dynamics. It was just called Dynamics then, by a company called Great Plains Software in Fargo, North Dakota, and right around the time that Dynamics came out, it was like 1994, 1995. It was just about a year later that a European product called Njevity released its first version. So Dynamics GP and Njevity, the product currently known as Business Central or BC, were released to the market about 1 year apart from each other. So they're basically the same age. I mean, GP is 1 year older than BC. Also, Njevity is a European product that was made in Europe for European regulations, and GP was a product made in America for North American regulations. So 20, 30 years ago, when we used to compete against Njevity head to head, Dynamics GP against Njevity, GP used to win a lot of those contests. Because a lot of companies just preferred the way, Dynamics GP's way of working with ISVs to get industry functionality, where Njevity was primarily development focused. So you would do custom development to get the functionality that GP had just from their ISVs. So this idea that BC is an upgrade or a migration, I like to use the word transition. It's a full ERP transition. I mean, this is a product that was made like a year after Dynamics GP. It was never created to house Dynamics GP data. The data structures are completely different, and it was created with completely different regulatory restrictions in mind. So the whole process of transitioning from GP to BC, I mean, it is a full ERP transition experience. Just as if you went to NetSuite or to Intact, you're going to have a very similar kind of an experience going to Business Central. So just because it's Microsoft, and I think we had one of our customers say, hey, we just thought it was Microsoft to Microsoft. Like, how hard could it be? And it turns out it was really hard. And they ended up coming back to GP because what they ended up getting out of that transition was not what they wanted. It was not what they were told they were going to get. It was certainly not what they were expecting. So, like, this whole idea that BC is an upgrade is just a whole bunch of hooey, Mike. It's a whole bunch of hooey.
Yeah, it sounds like you're saying it's hard. And they can go read the case
it is.
How hard it actually
it's
truly
the
is.
whole it's the whole implementation. I mean, hey, when we implemented Dynamics GP, it wasn't easy, right? I mean, when we implemented GP was a hard implementation because when you implement an ERP system, it's change. It's and there's so many things that it's connected to, so many reports, maybe reports that you only use once a quarter or once a year while you're getting ready for taxes. Things you might not think about while you're going through your implementation project. And all those things like turn into little fires everywhere as you're going through an implementation. It's hard. There's nothing easy about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, let's talk about myth number 8. Business Central, or BC, is the only path for Dynamics GP customers. So, again, partners are telling customers that Business Central is the only path forward. Why is that statement misleading?
Well, that's just what Microsoft wants you to do, right? Microsoft would like you to make the assumption that, going from a Microsoft product to a Microsoft product is just what I should do. But there are so many paths available for Dynamics GP customers. You can stay on GP. You can work with the Knights of GP and continue to get supported. You could look at other products like Intact or Acumatica or SAP or NetSuite. There's so many options available. And for some of you, you run a business that maybe just isn't a good fit for BC. And maybe you should, if you were going to transition to something else, you should be looking at something else. But I think it's like I'm trying to think of what the word I want to use, Mike. But I think it's really I'll say self-centered, egotistical maybe for a partner to think that like just because like BC was the right choice of product for me to sell, that it's going to be the right fit for all my customers. Or maybe I as a partner picked Acumatica to sell, right? Because for whatever reason, there were things I as a partner liked about Acumatica and the kind of business that I felt like I could build around it. To think that Acumatica is just going to be a great fit for every single one of my customers, it just doesn't work that way. Each one of these products has different strengths. Each one has different weaknesses. And some of them are going to align more closely with customer A's business than with customer B's business. And I think what's also really important for our GP customers to know is that as partners are coming at you and saying, hey, this is the only way. This is what you need to do. It's important to remember that the way that these cloud publishers like Microsoft and Sage and Acumatica and NetSuite have built their partner incentive programs, like these partners, you have to add like 5 customers, 10 customers a year in order to maintain your margin. And because the software is now an annual subscription, if you don't maintain your margin, like you end up with a pretty significant business impact to your bar business if your margin drops by a whole bunch of points just because you didn't add enough customers. So there is a lot of incentive and velocity that's built into these incentive plans that's kind of like encouraging a lot of partners to push customers even though those customers aren't ready, because if that partner doesn't get enough customers over that line, it's really bad for their business. I think it's important that customers know that. There are a lot of altruistic people out there, but migrating and transitioning ERP systems is not where you find a lot of them.
I like how you said that, and it's it's so true. But I think the lesson to be learned is, if GP is still working for your business, then keep GP, and you've got a long runway with GP. If GP is no longer working for your business, maybe have some conversations. Let's unpack some of the red flags here in a moment, but go out to the market, see what else is available, see what else is actually going to fit your business the best. But again, at the end of the day, don't just move because Microsoft is pushing you or you're feeling like your partner's no longer supporting you, whatever the case may be. GP's got a long life ahead of it, and we're here to make sure that customers are supported.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the worst reasons in the world to change ERPs is just because somebody told you to do it. If you're gonna put your business through the chaos of an ERP implementation, for sure make sure that there is something for you on the other side.
Exactly.
Something that makes it all worthwhile.
All right, Chris. Last myth number 9.
Mm-hmm.
And this is worth repeating. So GP won't be secure after 2031. Again,
Right.
There's a lot of concern around, what happens after that 2031 date when Microsoft stops releasing security updates. Kind of already talked to this, but just explain why this is more of a red herring than real risk. And again, it's just super important to know.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like what I was talking about earlier. We were talking about security when I said like your GP is really not on the edge of your firewall, right? It's usually like sitting like deep inside your network on a SQL server. It's not touching the internet. So the idea that your GP would be the point of entrance that a bad actor would use to get into your environment, it just doesn't make sense. When Microsoft talks about security updates, what they're really talking about is like security updates for things like the GP web client and web services, which are items that sit on the edge of the network. But GP web services is so bad. It's such old technology. The only folks that I know that are using that are using it with email workflow approvals. Because that's how email workflow approvals uses that old GP web services tech to work. And that's something that when the time is right, we're going to have our team at the Knights of GP take a look at that and say, hey, can we just like make email workflow approvals work through a REST endpoint in a JSON, but a more current modern API. And then we just won't have to worry about the Microsoft web services stuff at all. But that's the stuff that you need. You need service packs and hot fixes and security patches for, because that's the stuff that's sitting on the edge where a bad actor might be able to access it and use it to get in. If you're not using any of that, you really have nothing to worry about. I mean, GP is, but if a bad actor gets to your GP, like they're already in your network. So yeah, I think this one is a big nothing burger, Mike.
Oh, perfect. Well, I appreciate you humoring me and taking us through a bit of Mythbusters and kind of talking about what's actually being said and help set the record straight with the truth. So the takeaway: GP is alive, supported, secure, evolving. Most importantly, customers have a long runway ahead of them and the ability to continue to use Dynamics GP. So I want to transition, and now that we're done talking about what customers might be hearing, I want to talk about what they may be experiencing and just kind of outline some of the red flags that they should just be aware of that allows them to ask questions or have conversations. Let's start with, let's just jump into it. Let's start with red flag number 1.
All right. Is it still me? We're not getting to the All-Star yet?
Well, I was going to say we might want to run.
I mean, it's fine. I mean, we can keep going. I just keep hearing that song in my head. I can't wait to actually hear it out loud.
Well, Paige is always welcome to jump in. And honestly, Paige, you're probably, and I will be honest with you, we had to do a little bit of a pivot today. For those of you who know Wendy Epperson, she was actually supposed to be the one who was on this call. Paige thankfully jumped in kind of last minute. So we're just going to throw her on the spot altogether.
Yeah.
But yeah, Paige, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because
as
hey,
you're
now
seeing,
she's an all-star.
she is. Should have been better prepped. Could have had that after the video.
Yep.
All right, well, let's talk about the red flags. So red flag number one, shrinking
Mhm.
GP focus and quality of support. So customers are seeing their partners' G teams getting smaller or shifting over to other ERP products. They've noticed slower response times. They're working with consultants who don't really know GP anymore. So
Mhm.
what does this signal about the partner's priorities and the long-term commitment? And how can customers tell if it's just growing pains that that partner is experiencing, or if their partner has moved on?
Well, I mean, I think there might be a different answer for every partner out there. I can tell you that there are a lot of GP partners out there who still love GP, who still have great GP consultants dedicated to GP. There are a lot of GP consultants out there that would love to help our GP customers out with support. They just might not all work for your partner. I would say, if your experience as a customer, if what you experience is either like every time you talk with your partner, they're trying to convince you that you need to move to something else, or they just don't have the staff anymore to help you solve your problems. I mean, that might be a really good sign that that your partner has prioritized other things, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? I mean, they're a business. They've got to figure out what their strategy is to keep themselves in business moving forward. Doesn't necessarily mean that what they're choosing as their priorities continue to align with yours. Just like I was talking earlier about how Njevity's mission statement and Microsoft's mission statement used to be so closely aligned, right? We were all about helping improving the life and success of our partners and customers, and just over time, Njevity's mission has stayed the same, and Microsoft has changed a lot as Microsoft's priorities have changed. I think you might see those kind of priority changes happening with your partner, and I would suggest if that's happening, you can have a conversation with your partner, and and I'm sure that there are other folks out there who have the capacity to help you and who would love to help you on Dynamics GP if that's just not the thing that your partner's into anymore.
Yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. And you kind of already alluded to this, but red flag number two, selling instead of supporting. So we've heard a lot of customers say that every time they call their partner and that they're looking for support, it turns into a migration pitch. What's the danger in that kind of behavior? What does that say about the partner's focus?
Yeah.
Kind of already alluded to it, but I think it's worth elaborating.
Well, it's like being at the point of sale stand at a grocery store, right? I mean, when you get there, that they're gonna have candy and gum waiting for you. You don't have to buy your candy and gum in the store. You can just wait till you get to the checkout. And so we've kind of grown to expect that at the grocery store. But it's not super fun when it's your a trusted business advisor. If every time my CPA called me, he was trying to convince me that I should buy some new tax software, I might start to feel like all my CPA cares about is selling me this new tax software. Like maybe he doesn't really have my personal needs and interests at heart anymore. Maybe we're becoming unaligned. So I think I would feel that same way if every time I had a conversation with someone who's supposed to care about me, they were trying to sell me something different.
Yeah, exactly. Give little pauses just in case Paige wants to chime in. Like putting her on the
Those
spot.
are all star pauses.
Yep,
Covered
they
it all.
are. Don't worry, Paige. All right, red flag number three, the disappearing GP community. So, some customers have noticed that their partners, essentially stopped offering GP webinars, events, updates. Everything's suddenly about Business Central or whatever ERP that partner has chosen to move forward with. So, why does that matter for customers who want to remain on GP?
I think just because it's not making a lot of noise doesn't mean that it's not a great product. I think that as I said a minute ago, partners are are changing their priorities, they're changing their strategies, they're focusing in other areas. But just as you have some partners that are doing that, you've got other partners like Njevity that, I mean, we just launched like 4 or 5 brand new training sessions for Dynamics GP, where like you can send a new person and come and get trained on Dynamics GP. Partners like Cavallo and Winsoft still super active on their blogs and websites. So, it could be that you just have to look in a different place to find all the current stuff that's going on about GP. Because there are still a lot of us out there that are talking about GP, that are writing about GP, that are training GP, that are they're creating new features for GP. It just might not be in the same place that it was yesterday.
100% agree. All right, last one, Chris. Red flag number 4, and then Paige, I promise I'm gonna pretty much be speaking to you, and Chris can interject if he would like. But this is a big one. Red flag number 4. Sadly, this is something that we have seen, but withholding support or solutions. So we've heard real stories of partners who are using a customer's pain to push a migration, quotes, really in reality an implementation, like telling them that GP doesn't have a certain capability when it does, or withholding an ISV that would easily solve the issue just to make the implementation seem necessary. And Paige, this is probably honest. You probably have some things, insight to add here, but have you seen this happen, and what does it say about the partners' intentions?
Yeah, and this one I just get really angry every time I hear about this, because it just feels like that partner is taking advantage of that customer. And we've had several scenarios where we've found out after the fact. We've had a conversation with a customer who said, man, I didn't even want to leave GP. I just was told that it couldn't do this particular thing. And we're like, yeah, it does that. It's actually really easy to do that. And so some of these customers are just frankly being misled. And I think this kind of goes back to the other question. If every time you're interacting with your partner, they're putting you through a sales motion rather than a support motion, or just like caring about you motion, trying to help you make your business better. If that's not what they're doing, maybe get a second opinion before you choose to make a decision that's frankly going to cost you 6 figures and 18 months, 24 months of your time and energy and resources to complete. Because unfortunately, there are some unscrupulous folks out there that'll take you for a ride if you'll let them.
Yeah, and that's the sad reality. And honestly, we've seen this firsthand, but this happens more often than customers realize. So it is just something to be aware of. Njevity, we're a partner. We focus on Dynamics GP. That's all we do. But we're not the only ones. I mean, there's some great independent consultants out there. There still is a vibrant community that is supporting GP. But at the end of the day, just make sure that you're aware of kind of these things that are happening, and just treat them as, all right, I need to have a conversation. Really, at the end of the day, yeah. So I want to transition, and I want to actually bring Paige into the conversation. So Paige, actually, let me share my screen. I forgot what I'm going to do here. Okay, hopefully everyone here can see that. But this is the fabulous Paige Horn, also known as the All-Star. But I want to spend some time with Paige. And first, Paige, I'll let you just quickly introduce yourself, and then I'll start grilling you with some questions.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at the list of who's here, and I think I've probably talked to most of you. I run our support team here at Njevity. Before that, I was a consultant, And before even that, I was an end user, so I know how all of you end users feel. I know like some of the pain points inside of GP. And, you know, I always say like the things I learned as a consultant, one thing that I'm really passionate about is teaching those things to end users, because those are things I really wish that I would have known. So I have done all kinds of industries. I have a lot of experience in payroll, if you guys use payroll, and yeah, and I love GP just like everybody at Njevity. So.
Exactly, and I just want to take a moment to recognize you, Paige, as 2025 GPUG All-Star Award winner at Summit this year. All-Stars are recognized and honored by their peers for ongoing contributions and their commitment to, in this case, GP. So congratulations, Paige. Thank you for all that you do for the community, and thanks for being on with us, because I do think that it's really important to hear from someone who's in the trenches and working with GP customers literally every day.
Yeah, I mean, she's kind of a big deal.
Kind of is. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing that. Let's chat. So again, Paige, you talk to GP customers every day. You hear their questions, you hear their concerns. So let's talk about what we're doing at Njevity to, not only help customers stay on GP, but thrive. So the first question I have for you is, when you talk with customers who feel pressure to move off of GP, what's the first thing that you tell them or ask them?
Probably just why. What does GP not have that you are looking for? And there's a small minority of people that there's an answer to that, a valid answer, in which we would say, hey, go look at all your options, right? But most of the time people go, well, I'm just scared, right? I'm scared because somebody, at Summit, somebody will say, my partner told me I just had to move, and so we're going to try to move, and I'm stressed out about it. So really, if they're saying we might want to leave, my first question is always why. And typically I don't hear any feature gaps, and that would be the only reason I would say, hey, you need to move, or you need to be looking at something else.
And from the sales side, when I'm having those conversations, there's just a lot of times that they don't know what they don't have, so they don't know the right questions to ask. They don't know about some of the ISVs that are out there that will fill some of their holes. And to your point, it just feels like there's a lot of fear that's being promoted within the customer's mindset, which is driving decisions that don't necessarily need to happen and don't need to happen now.
Right.
All right, so let's talk about Njevity as the ride or die partner for Dynamics GP. This is where we're going to be talking about ourselves and how we're going to support the community, how we're going to be supporting GP customers in the long run. But what does ride or die? What does that mean in practice? How are we showing up for our customers who want to keep GP?
Well, I would say the number one thing is that we all love GP. Everyone who works at Njevity, who is customer facing, who's a consultant on support, almost everyone was a GP end user. Lots of them were accountants or worked inside of GP. We have a ton of valuable knowledge. I mean, I think most of our consultants have worked with GP for 15 plus years. And so we have a great knowledge base on, hey, there's this little trick you can do here to make this happen. We have a lot of that. We also have great relationships within the ISV community. We have, with all the ISVs that are working with GP, we probably have a personal connection with someone somewhere and know of some ISV or solution. If GP doesn't have it, we probably have an ISV or a connection with an ISV that can do that. And we also, with PowerGP, we are trying to develop those things that an ISV doesn't have, or develop things inside of PowerGP that we think will make our customers' lives better. And I know that we will talk about that here a little later, so I won't, spoil all of the stuff that we have to offer, but I do think that that's important. And GP is the only ERP that we work with. So whenever a customer calls in, we're not going to go, oh, well, GP doesn't do that, but you should buy BC, and it will. Because I know I did hear a lot at Summit that there are people who every time they call their partner, they say, well, I think you should really be thinking about moving to BC. You're never going to hear that from Njevity. You're only going to hear good feedback on what GP can do, and we're going to be working with you to try to make your GP experience the best, whether you're going to plan to stay on it for 2 years or for 15. So, yeah.
And that's exactly it. Chris, did you want to add anything here? This isn't just Paige time.
I would just say that we're also going to tell you if GP can't do it. So if there's something that you need to do in your business and GP doesn't have it in the box and there's not an ISV out there, you're going to get that answer from us. So we're gonna tell you like for real what your options are.
Yeah, and because we don't have a dog in the fight, we're going to encourage you to go and evaluate your options and really see what makes the most sense for your business. We're not going to try and push you one way or the other, because at the end of the day, we are GP experts, and that's what we do. And if we can't help you there, then you should go to market.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Question number 3. Paige, this is a great question for you. Let's talk about what day-to-day support looks like with Njevity for our GP customers, the ones that we support. Can you share, how our systems and processes ensure customers get the GP support that they need quickly and consistently? And also talk to, the fact that we have on-premise customers as well as customers in our cloud, because a lot of times people don't know that we're also a partner and that we support customers on-premise.
Yeah, so whether you're in our cloud or you're an on-premise customer with your own server in-house, you're going to email support@njevity.com, and that's going to come into Zendesk. So we use Zendesk as our ticketing system right now. It allows a lot of visibility so that if you sent in a ticket last week and you talked to me, and then you send in a ticket this week and you talk to somebody else because I'm on vacation, we can see all of that stuff inside of Zendesk. We try very hard to have a very quick response time. So, typically, especially with consulting, which is a lot of times what the on-premise support request would be, I will assign something to the consulting queue, and before I can even go refresh that queue, somebody's taken it. We pride ourselves on being very quick and being very responsive. And even if we can't fit you in today, we try to make sure that we tell you, hey, we can fit you in tomorrow. Is this urgent? We try to be very responsive. We have, like I said, lots of consultants that love GP. We bounce ideas off of each other, and we try to reach out. Also, we're going to talk here in a second about health checks and stuff. We try to be very proactive as well. We try to reach out to customers that we haven't heard from in a while and say, hey, are things still good? Because we also know that sometimes people get busy and they have a stack of papers. Like I used to have a windy stack when I was a customer, and they may have just not had time to reach out. So we reach out to customers to try to get some feedback from them on, hey, how can we be helping you more? So I think really the number one thing that, throughout all of our interaction with our customers is that we just want to make sure that their businesses are thriving while using GP. And if we can help them, we want to do that.
The fact that they get to work with an all-star.
Yes, and that, that too. There for a couple of days, my signature, my email actually said that. So if I emailed you and you saw that, then that's what that was about.
Awesome, thanks, Paige. All right, let's talk about PowerGP Online. And Chris, actually, I might have you talk to this one, Chris, just because you did such a good job. But Paige, feel free to interject, and let me share my screen again real fast while I.
Oh, you're still sharing your screen.
Was I?
Yeah.
By sharing it
now?
You're
all good. Yeah.
Well, I pushed a button, so that makes me nervous. Who knows what's going to happen? All right. Well, can you see the slide that PowerGP Online, the cloud that makes GP better? Is that what you're seeing?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well, the question is, so I'd love for us to talk about some of the ways we're helping GP customers modernize with PowerGP Online. So both of you kind of talk to this, but Chris, I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to really talk about PowerGP Connect on the next slide as well.
Yeah,
well, ladies first.
Okay, you want me to talk about it? Well, let's see. I think it's really awesome. This is like one of those things, banking and import and connect, all of them are all things that I like. I wish I could go back in time to when I was an end user and use all of them. I think one of the first things that I started using was Connect, and I think it is really awesome because it allows you to have Excel reports, but you don't have to be in your network. You can literally have Excel and Power BI, and lots of other very cool things, but those are things you can start with right away. And import is also great because it's in almost every single window. You don't have to have integration manager. You don't have to have Smart Connect. It's awesome. And then banking, I'm saving, the best for last, I would say, because I remember doing lots of implementations with people going from QuickBooks to GP and then going, oh, well, I don't have a connection to my bank anymore. What's this about? And I thought, oh, well, GP will never do that. So when I joined Njevity and I found out they were working on this, I was just stoked. So you actually can connect to your bank through Plaid. It's secure. We aren't scoring any of your banking stuff, and it actually auto matches your actual bank information to what is in GP. It is very, very cool. And if you want to see that, I think we're going to talk about some training options later so that you can see what that would look like if you were in our. So that's my spiel on it, Chris. I know you probably have.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think what's important to keep in mind with PowerGP Online, and it's not for everybody, right? Like some customers want to stay on premise with their Dynamics GP, and we have a lot of on premise GP customers, and we love all of our customers. But if you do want to go to the cloud, what we've tried to do with PowerGP Online is to make it a modern, authentic cloud experience for Dynamics GP. So it's much more than just hosting. You can host GP in a lot of places, but PowerGP Online is the only place where you're going to get a modern deployment of Dynamics GP. I mean, we are adding things to Dynamics GP that allow you to interact. Like PowerGP Connect lets you interact with other cloud apps like Expensify or Shopify. And I'm not quite ready for it, Mike. I'm going to go back and talk about banking for a second because with PowerGP banking, like this was one of my passion projects. I was so excited when we started really extending Dynamics GP and making it more modern to bring this feature to market, because like this is something when I started working with Dynamics GP back on version 2. Like people, maybe it wasn't quite version 2. It might have been around version 4. When people started, asking like, hey, when is Dynamics going to have that really cool feature that QuickBooks has, where it just like connects up to your bank and downloads transactions and, matches everything together. And, and if there's stuff that's in your bank that isn't in QuickBooks, it'll just automatically create it for you. Right. I mean, I had so many people ask me why an expensive program like Dynamics GP did not have a feature that an inexpensive program like QuickBooks had. I mean, for years and years and years, we were having that conversation. And so, to be able to provide that capability to our Dynamics GP customers is really cool. And I use it myself. I still reconcile Njevity's books with our bank. And so I use PowerGP banking every single month. And it has, taken the amount of time that it takes for me to reconcile our operating account, especially, I mean, it might have taken me an hour before. Now it maybe takes me 5 or 6 minutes. It is so fast and so easy. We totally love it. We have a huge update coming out, I think this month in November, that's just gonna add some additional functionality and make it even better. So really excited about that. And in PowerGP import, as Paige said, like it's you need to bring data in from a spreadsheet or from a CSV file. Like you don't need a complex tool like Integration Manager. You don't need an expensive tool like Smart Connect. Like you can use PowerGP import to just bring that data in right from the spreadsheet. There's no data mapping to do. You just make sure the column labels in the spreadsheet are the right column labels, and we give you templates for all of that. So it's really easy to know what they're supposed to be. It's such an easy way to get data in and out. And I mean, I use this every month to import closing journal entries and month-end AP transactions. It's also just a really, really fun product. But some of the cool stuff that we're doing besides what we're doing with banking is now starting to happen with PowerGP Connect. So PowerGP Connect, this is the API that we built to replace the GP Web Services. GP Web Services is old and clunky. PowerGP Connect is new and modern. It's an API that wraps itself around your whole Dynamics GP system, and it allows you to, like Paige said earlier, like you can do a live Excel report that's on your local computer against data that's up in the cloud. with PowerGP Connect. And those reports refresh, those Excel spreadsheets refresh. You can use PowerGP Connect to connect Power BI or Power Apps into Dynamics GP. And because of the way we've designed it, it is impossible for you to damage your data when you're writing data back to GP. Whereas if you're using the Power Platform Gateway, you're kind of connecting Power Apps up to your Dynamics GP data the way that we used to connect Access databases up to your GP data. And if your programmer doesn't know GP really well, they can break it. But at the end of the day, because PowerGP Connect is a modern RESTful JSON API, it gives us the ability to talk with almost any other app that's out there in the world. And soon, we're going to be using that technology to give you the ability to connect your ChatGPT, Claude, and Copilot into your PowerGP environment. So, what does that mean? It means you might be able to say something like, hey, ChatGPT, who are my top 5 customers? Hey, ChatGPT, could you give me the last 5 invoices from XYZ vendor? Hey, ChatGPT, who are the customers who haven't paid me in the last 60 days? Hey, ChatGPT, could you put those customers on hold? Right? And of course, every time ChatGPT is going to tell you how amazing you are. And I say, Mike, that was a really good question. I'd love to tell you who your top 5 customers are. But this technology that we have in PowerGP Online, this is now kind of opening up a whole gateway into the generative AI systems. So you can literally just ask questions, and you'll get the answers back straight out of your Dynamics GP system. So we're really excited about where this is going, and what our customers are going to be able to do with this. Somebody made a comment at Summit to me. They were like, "Hey, I get all this stuff that you're saying about GP, but sometimes I just this was a partner. She said, I just want to go ask my BC, who my top 5 customers are." And if that's the reason that you think you might want to move to another accounting system, to another ERP, I just want you to know that you're going to have this capability within PowerGP Online very, very soon. And it's really exciting. It's super cool to see it work.
All for you, Chris. That's so cool. How much does it cost?
Oh, I don't know if we've released are you talking about PowerGP
Oh,
Connect?
I'm talking about banking and import and connect.
Oh, all the stuff. Well, so, we just give it to all of our customers for free. So if you come into our PowerGP Online environment, you just get all this stuff. It's just part of PowerGP Online. That's what makes PowerGP Online different than GP hosted in the cloud.
It's so cool, and I love being able to say that, because as you see this in action, and I'm more than happy to show you, but as you see some of these tools in action and what you can do with your GP data, it's a game changer. It really takes you to the next level. All right, so I want to kind of transition, and let's talk about training. So another major way we're supporting customers is through our on-demand training platform. So Paige, I'll let you speak to this, but how is that helping customers upskill their teams, onboard new employees, and really just help keep up with the GP knowledge so that they can stay on GP, they don't feel like they need to leave? While you're doing that, I'm gonna show actually, let me, give me a second. Let me, just lost where I was.
While Mike's pulling that up, I'll talk to just training in
There we
general.
go.
If you've not ever done training, official training for GP, I think it is really great to do that for your team. So a lot of times what we see when we go in to do like a health check, which we're going to talk about in a second, or to do a consulting engagement, we find that people like Joe is doing his job the same way that Bill taught him 5 years ago. And there could be a better way to do that, right? So training helps in that way. It also helps because there's people who are like, I've got to move to another software because it doesn't do XYZ. And they would find out in training that it absolutely can do XYZ. When I was an end user, I loved going to training. That was probably how I found out that I was a big GP nerd, because that was like my favorite thing to do at my job, was to go to a training center. People don't really go to training centers anymore, but we do have this on-demand training. What I think is really cool about our offering of on-demand training is it is very affordable. So it's not like you're having to spend, $2,000 in 2 days, full days. It's in chunks. So you've got like a bank rec, you've got an accounts payable one. You can kind of split up your team. If you've got a training budget, you can send one person to the AP class and one person to the AR class. And they are done by Wendy, who is great. She's a legend. She's not here, but she also won an award at Summit as well. And she is who trained me when I was an end user. She's great. She's clear. She knows lots about the software. And I was recommending this, right and left to people at Summit in our booth. So if you were there, you might have heard me recommend it there too. But it's a great offering, and again, very affordable, and you should definitely check it out and see if there is something that you or someone on your team might be able to use.
It is a great resource, and we were sharing this at Summit. I'll just kind of leave this here. If you are interested, we have a QR code which takes you to that landing page or that website that I was just showing. We do have a promo code, so if you use that Summit 2025, you can get $10 off any of the courses that you sign up for. But again, it's just a great way to level up your team and make sure that you're really getting the most out of Dynamics GP.
And one other thing is,
Mike, Melissa didn't tell me she was gonna put these up and make them so affordable. I mean, that is a really, really good deal on. I remember when online training for GP was like $500 to $1,000 for a module. Like to be able to get trained for $49 to $99, that's a deal, man. Wow.
From a legend, nonetheless.
Yeah, from a legend.
And I was also just going to throw out that if there's something up there that's not up there that you'd like to see, let us know. Shoot us an email, because we are adding to that catalog. And if there's something that you think would be useful and it's on our list, then we can prioritize that more. So.
Yeah,
I love
very
the
cool
smart
stuff.
list one. Sounds really interesting. Page like so many of our GP customers, they've got this amazing tool, but only certain percentage of the customers have really leaned into it and learned how to use it. I mean, there's so much you can do with smart list once you get in and start playing around with it. It's cool to just have a class just dedicated to that.
Yeah, I like that idea.
That's very cool. All right, speaking of cool, for customers who are feeling unsure about their current partner or their GP setup, what's the best first step that they can take to get some clarity and confidence back as I transition to this next slide?
That would be a health check. And Wendy also does the health checks primarily. And so that's just a 1-hour session where you can go, hey, Wendy can talk to you about security. She can talk to you about what features you're using. She can talk to you about, hey, maybe you want to use NDA to track something that you're tracking in a spreadsheet. And typically, I know Wendy would say if she were here that she never leaves those health checks without at least like a list of 5 things that we could action on right away. I mean, these are things like, hey, everybody's a power user, which is scary. I'm tracking something in a spreadsheet that really we could be tracking in GP with a very quick update. Some of this stuff is, stuff that we see people at, Summit or at other conferences, at the help desk, and we say like, oh, well, that's an easy fix in 15 minutes. Same kind of thing here. We're going through, what is your setup? How many users do you have? What modules are you using? All that good stuff. And then, what are your pain points? What is it that you wish GP could do that it isn't doing for you today? And, we might have an ISV to recommend. We might have a training to recommend. We might have, hey, move to PowerGP Online and, have banking and import work for you. So a really great way to see if GP is, working the best it can for you. And then also for us to maybe get a list of projects to help you guys out. So.
Yeah, I think I mentioned earlier that I'm a user of Dynamics GP. We're a customer at Njevity, and we just recently started using 2 deep track features of the GL. Paige, I know you're familiar with account rollups, where you can just get a quick account rollup summary of 3, 5, 6, 8 different accounts like if you want GP to just calculate your gross profit, for example, you can just like have an account roll up that does that. It's really, really cool. And then we recently started using, yeah, and it's all by month, and you compare it to other years. And then we also just started using, I think the feature is called transaction matching, where we started using this because we have a prepaid expense account, and trying to like reconcile like prepaid, a balance sheet account. Have we gotten all of our summit expenses recognized as revenue or as expenses yet? Using now transaction matching, like we've just made that super easy. So all the expenses related to Summit, for example, that come in across the year just get coded to prepaid expenses. They get matched to our Summit transaction match, and then it's really easy to know like what should the balance of prepaid expenses be. And those are two features that just everybody gets with GP.
Both of those things are some of my hidden gems in my hidden gems session that I do. So if everybody
I
were here,
might
I'd
have
say,
learned about them. I might have learned about them with one of your hidden gems.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, how much is this complimentary health check?
It's free.
It's free.
Free.
Yeah, it's just something
free
Which is the best price. Which is the best price to say, right?
It's bad to have Chris on here, our boss, saying all of the things that we're giving away. But at the end of the day, we really care about GP customer success using GP, and this is just a great way to open up the door and have a conversation and really kind of understand what they may or may not be using right, how we can help, and just how we can help.